Alrighty, everyone. We are going to do some codesters. This is the roll of the dice lesson in codesters. I think it's the seventh video out of the codesters section. But I think it's the fourth thing, if I remember correctly, in the Intro to Python series. Alrighty, so let's take a look. So what we're going to do today is we're going to learn how to use random integers. So today we're going to learn about variables and how to use them to make a program that rolls the dice. All right, so we've already dealt with integers a lot. Let's take a look at what we have to do. Click run at least 3 times. Notice what values on the stage change. All right, let's click run. I got a 5 and a 3. This change. Well, I mean, I got a 5, 3, and an 8. This is the total over here. All right, let's run it again. All right, this time I got a 1, a 1, and a 4. Again, the face of the die changes as well. Let's run it one more time. All right, a 4, a 2, and a 6. There you go. All right, that's what changed. Click on the ticket and answer the question. Let's do that. What changes on the stage each time you press run? All right, the values in the displays. The values in the displays, I guess that's correct. Yeah. And the faces of the dice. What data types are the variables? What data types are the variables roll 1 and roll 2 storing? Let's take a look. Roll 1 is a random integer, and roll 2 it looks like random integers. Random integers. All right, we answered the ticket. We can close it. Doop. Next activity. Now answer a few questions to review what you've learned. All right, I haven't learned too much, but let's see if we can do this. All right, today we'll be learning more about variables in programming. All right, let's look at these questions over here. What is the variable name on the code in the stage? There's a variable name. Remember, the variable name is always on the left-hand side of the equal sign. In this case, we have Betty, my var. All right, my var is not one of the answers, so let's go with Betty. Which statement is true of variables in codesters? They are green and surrounded by quotes. No, that's a string. They are blue and not surrounded by quotes. That's an integer or a float. They are orange and not surrounded by quotes. That's true. All right. Well, I should have read the last answer, but they always start with a number. That's definitely not true. They never start with a number. What do you think the sprite will say in this program? All right. So the sprite will say my var equals 8. The sprite will say 8. In this interactive activity, you'll choose the value of the variable by answering the sprite's question. All right. Well, we have user input. Choose a number 1 through 6. Let's do 5. All right. Parts of a variable creation statement. Name. The name is where you program stores the value. All right. So the name of our variable here is dice roll, and 5 is the value, and this is the actual die. They don't give you the, oh, actually they do, all right. So sprite.ask is how you get user input. We'll get into that later on. Sprite.ask, choose a number 1 through 6, all right, and they change it into an integer. Because normally when you get user input, it saves it as a string. So if you put an integer, int in front of it, and put the whole thing in parentheses, it changes whatever that string is into an integer. They have to type in a number. If they typed in FIVE, right, it wouldn't work. You have to assume they're going to type in an actual number. All right, some more questions. Choose the best definition of a variable. A collection of letters or numbers surrounded by quotes. Sounds like a string to me. A positive or negative number with no fractional part. That sounds like an integer. A name that stores a value. That's true. A character on the stage. That's a sprite. Those C is the best answer. Which term is not part of a variable creation statement? Well, the name, equal sign, value, or sprite. Well, I mean, you could have a sprite in a variable creation statement. It's not necessary, but you do have to have the variable name, an equal sign, and a value. This is a variable creation statement. My var equals 15. All right. Identify the variable and the value in this statement. So the variable name is my var, and the value is 15. Well, it's A. All right, that's backwards. All right, definitely not this. All right. This just, the equal sign like shows us this is a variable creation statement. All right. You need it, but it's not the variable and the value. There is no, all right, so these two are obviously wrong. So the only answer that makes sense is A. There we go. Let's start by generating a random number. All right. So variables can store values that change or values that we don't know in advance. All right. In the logic tab, we've been dealing mostly in graphics. Let's go to logic over here. We're going to go to math. We're going to go random integer. Random integer. There we go. So my var equals random.randint. Okay, is that all we have to do? I think so. Great job. Now we have some dice code that we're using, right? But we're not seeing it on the stage. They kind of hide that from us, so we don't mess around with it. We can try it again. Let's see if we get a number. See, this time we got 9. So there are only 6 side on a normal 6-sided die, right? So if we get a number bigger than 6, it's going to give us the codesters face. All right, let's change the range of numbers so we always get a value that could appear on a number cube. All right, so right now our parameters for our random integer are 1 through 10. So 1 is the smallest value you could get, 10 is the biggest. So let's change that to 6 to reflect the amount of faces on a die. Great. Submit work. Next activity. All right, let's change the variable to remind us of the value it holds. So when you name your variables, your variables should always have some kind of name that makes sense. So you don't want to have a bunch of things called myvar and myvar2 or variable1 and variable2 or sprite, all that kind of things. You want to make the variable name reflect the actual value that it holds. So it's much easier to remember what each of these variables things are. You won't have to go through which one was variable 16 again, or which one was sprite number 45. You have to go through, and it's too much of a pain. All right, so let's run that. Doing the exact same thing, but roll to 6. But now we have it stored as a variable name that makes much more sense rather than myvar. Oh, variable names must follow certain rules. Variable names can't start with a number. So let's click this thing over here. Uh-oh, we have 3 friends. Now you could change this to the word 3 friends. That would be the same thing. But now it doesn't start with a number. My 3 friends are Mary, Andy, and Jacob. Well, that's nice to know. Next activity. All right, variable names cannot have spaces in them. Well, let's click run, see what happens. Uh-oh, num siblings equals 30. That's bad input. You got to put some kind of thing. Oh, there goes my lights. He is not here today, so give me 1 second. All right, there we go. All right, so we have to change this. We have to put up the underscore between them. There we go. You can't have spaces in your variable names. Next thing. Variable names do not have quotation marks around them because that would make it a string, right? Can't assign to literal on line 5. Oh, on line 5, we have fave movie with quotation marks around it. Get rid of that. All right, my favorite movie is Hunger Games. All right, that's good. Nice to know. In this activity, we'll see how we can use the variable we created in our program. So in display, we use in dot display, we use the variable name dice roll to show its value 5. Hover over the display toward the bottom of the stage to see what it does and what it is called. All right, so over here we've got, my wife's texting me. Over here we've got the display over here. So we can use a display to display information that variables hold. In this case, we have got our dice roll. All right, dice roll is our variable. The value is 5. So our display, up top we have the variable name. Underneath it we have whatever the value that variable holds. So our dice roll is 5. We're displaying codesters.display. We're displaying the dice roll. Let's click on a ticket. What is the value of the variable shown in a display roll? It's 5. What is the name of the variable the variable showed in display roll? It's dice roll. Dice underscore roll. Find the display roll code. Which part of the variable dice roll is 5 is used in the display? The variable name. Alright, there we go. Close the ticket. Alright. Alright, jeez. So many texts. She's texting me things to put on the grocery shopping list. Alright. So we can go to data over here and drag a variable display. So now this code over here is the actual dice roll. They're showing it to us now. But anyways, all right. So find the variable parameter myvar and display it to change it to roll1. So we want it to display whatever the value is for roll1. It's going to be some random number. In this case, it's 4. These numbers over here are the location on the stage, the X and the Y position of where our display is placed. All right, let's change the name of the display. So they want you to change it to roll1 score. Roll1 score. There we go. Mr. Red.
Google's having issues this morning?
Yeah, I saw you.
Okay.
Well, let's run it first and then submit it. All right, we got our 1. Ooh, snake eye.
Yes.
Our variables each need different names. Remember, the variable name is the word before the equal sign. So I'm on the left-hand side. Remember, my images are flipped around. Let's see, this side. Yeah, this side. This side is the variable name. Then I am the variable, I'm the equal sign, and then over here we've got the variable value. There we go. Think of it that way. All right. So we're gonna go to logic. We're gonna go to math. And we want another random integer. Yeah, we're going to change this to roll2. All right, and they didn't tell us to change it to 1 through 6, but obviously we're going to have to do that.
Yeah, because students have to take tests. Yes.
Alrighty. All right. All right, now again, it's 1 through 6. Oh, they put in the roll2 pick for us. They put in the die for us. 1 through 6, change that. Now we got 2 dice. Again, they did a little code for us.
Yes, I was here on Monday. I was in the building on Monday.
All right, now let's go to data.
Yes.
And I'm going to put in a new display.
No, because I didn't
Variable
see
display.
posted up yet.
Alrighty, let's change this one to change this to roll2. Because we want to display the value of roll2. And we want to change this from negative 200 to 200. So it'll be on the right-hand side of our stage. So we've got roll1 and roll2. We roll the 2, we roll the 4. Total of 6. We haven't done the total yet, though. Alright, that's good. This program has a bug, which means we need to fix it. Let's run it and see what this bug is. Oops, name myvar is not defined on line 3. So over here, we have myvar, but we're not displaying myvar. We're displaying magic number. So we have to change this to magic underscore number. Let's run it now. Oh, we got number 11 this time. Let's run again, see if we get a better number. 53. 90. Ooh, I got 99. That's pretty high. All right, let's change the name of the second display to roll2 score. All right, so now we have roll1 score. Now we also have roll2 score. That's all we have to do for that one. Great. 6 and 1. Again, what happens on the stage doesn't change. What happened is that our variable names are now better allocated, or better described, I should say. This program has a bug. Oh, let's see what happens. What's this bug? Oops, name alien name is not defined on line 5. So we have alien name equals Matilda. All right. So here we're referencing a variable called alien name, but we didn't define it until we have it on line 7. So remember, our programs go in order. So you have to, if you want to use alien name, you have to define what alien name is before you use it, right? It's like, say you had no concept of what a pizza was, and someone says, would you like to eat a pizza? What the heck is a pizza? All right? It's basically the same thing. You'd have to tell them what a pizza is before they decide if they want to use it or not. All right. All right, let's add the value. So we've got roll 1 and we've got roll 2. I'm going to combine those two things together. Now we can do this simple math in our heads probably, I hope. But now we're going to have the computer do it so we can be even lazier than normal. All right, so we're now going to make a new variable called total roll. So I'm going to go to data, right? And go to integer variable. I'm going to call this total roll. And that's going to equal the value of roll 1 plus roll 2. Again, we have it there. We're storing it. Since we set up a variable, it's stored in the computer's memory, but we haven't done anything with it yet. But something tells me we're going to display it down here. All right. All right. Now let's display our total. From our data, drag another variable display. All right, so go to data. We want a variable display this time. Where are we? Variable. Oh, there we are. All right. All right, we're going to change this one to total score. Oh, not update. Wrong one. Update display. If it say like you were running, you're changing the value of a variable a number of times. If you wanted to update the update display would change. It would like say for example, the first time you run some program, it's a 1, right? And the next time you run it, you add 1 to it, so it would be 2. So if you want to update the display, then that's how you do it with the update display. All right. Anyways, when I change this from to total score, I'm going to change this to total roll. And I'm going to change this to -100. I'll change the y -100. Oh, and the x to 0. There we go. So now we've got our total roll down here. So 4 plus 3 is 7. 4, 3, 7. Great. All right, here are a few questions for you to check what you've learned. All right, which of these variable names follow all the rules? My age equals 14. Oh, got a space here. It doesn't. My age equals 14. That looks right. Oh, this has quotation marks around it. This one starts with a number, so B is the correct answer. Which of the variables has a value that is an integer? All right, this is a string, also a string. That's an integer, also a string. All right, this one's the only one. That's an integer. Which line of code is written correctly? Num size equals 4. Sounds right. 4 equals num size. Well, you can't have a variable that start with a number. Num size equals 4. This is a string. Num size 4. You're missing the equals sign. A is the correct answer for that one. Alrighty. Almost finished. Now try your program and customize it. All right, what do we have to do? Add a background or color to your stage. All right, let's do that. All right, let's go to graphics. Let's go to stage. Where do I want mine? Maybe some kind of city street, right? A couple of kids playing dice in an alley somewhere. All right. Change the location of one or both of your variable displays. All right, so I'm okay with the total roll down here, but I'm going to put these other two more towards the middle here. All right. So just roll 1 score and roll 2 score. Those are the displays. So right now they're at -200. I'm going to put them at the 150. Put them 50 in more and see what that looks like. Change the range of possible values for roll 1 to any number between 2 and 4. All right, so roll 1, instead of 1 through 6, they want to change it from 2 to 4. It could be a 2, a 3, or a 4. All right. Let's run it, see what happens. Great. So now I've got roll 1 could be 2, 3, or 4. So I know if I got a 1, a 5, or a 6, this would be incorrect, right? It wouldn't work. Well, it would. The program would work, but it wouldn't do what the requirements for the program need to be. For whatever reason, right, they need roll 1 to be a 2, a 3, or a 4. If I run it again, I got a 3 again. These are a little bit in. Let me move these in a little bit more. I want them to be kind of lined up with the dice. Let me move them up, move them in a little bit more. Let me see. This is, let's make it negative 100 and 100. Try that again. Yeah, that's better.
Somebody call me.
I can even move them down a little bit. But that's fine the way it is. Again, all it really matter. Oh, you could have put them anywhere on the stage just as long as you changed it to something else. All right, so random scene generators we're going to do with our final project. Let's look at some examples here. So many texts from my wife. All right. She couldn't just make one list and send that to me as a text. She guys send me each thing on the grocery list. Well, whatever. All right. So here's the one one student did. So they have 3 random students. They have myvar1, myvar2, myvar3 are their displays, and these are the values 3, 10, and 10. Great. So if they run it again, you get different people. All right. This is one example. Let's run this one. Here we go. Oh. And they have a couple fish come in. All right. So same thing, but this time they have some fish come in, and then underwater. That kind of makes sense to have the fish come in since we're in an underwater background, but these people are drowned. Maybe they're Atlanteans or something. All right. Example number 3. Here we go. All right. Ooh, that must be cold. They don't have any kind of sweater or anything. You need a nice heavy jacket. All right. So you can tell each of these things, they have a different background, right? They have 3 different people that are randomly generated, and they have a display for each thing. All right. So this is the one I did. So I have 3 people, and I put the display underneath them. I called my people students. All right. So what's your goal for this project is to generate a set of 3 random sprites each time the program runs. Include a background and at least 3 possible sprite images. So it has to be at least 3 different sprite images. I went through 16 sprite images. Whoa. All right, let's take a look at what I did. The first thing I have is I set up a background. I chose volcano. You can pick whatever you want to pick. Then I have 3 student. These are my random number generators. I have student 1, student 2, student 3. So, and these are each a random integer between 1 and 16. The reason why I picked 1 through 16 is if you go to sprites, you go to person, they have person 1 all the way up to person 16. And then I have my displays. Student 1 display, student 2 display, student 3 display. And then so student 1, student 2, student 3 are the variables they display, and here are where they are located. And then the numbers are going to be randomly generated between 1 and 16. All right. Now to display your actual sprites, it's a little bit different. All right. So we have our codesters.sprite, which is the way we've normally been doing it. And I called mine student 1 sprite, student 2 sprite, student 3 sprite. All right. So normally when we do our sprites, they're strings. All right. So when these things that we generated over here, those are integers. So what we have to do is we have to change those integers into strings. So if you look at, like, if I wanted to have just a sprite, right, just by itself. So if I wanted to have just person 16 be on the stage somewhere,
Yes.
all right, it would be like that. I actually got a 16 too. All right, so this would put a person 16 at 0, 0.
Yes.
So if you look at the code, at the string, the image label, it's person and then a number over here. So these numbers over here that we generated are between 1 and 16. these integers, I should say, to be more specific. So down here, I have person,
Sarah lived in her house.
I have person, and then I add, concatenate, whatever the value is for student 1, student 2, or student 3, and then I change that integer to a string. So essentially, if I say this time I rolled a 16 for student 1, right? So it says person plus 16, but if you don't change it to a string, you can't combine strings and integers on the same line. So if you have to combine strings with strings and integers with integers, or integers with floats, right? So I have to change this to a string. So there's str in front of it. You put parentheses around it. That will change it to a string. Right? Don't put a space or anything here, because person space 16 is not a sprite image label that we have stored. And then over here, of course, we have our x and our y position. So I just made them appear over whatever over the displays. So if I run it again, right? Oops, I should get rid of person 16. Run it again. Here, and here, right? So I got 12, 14, and 5 this time. And some of our sprites are more realistic, and some of them are a little more cartoony. Like this is more like a kind of pixely sort of, I guess. This is more realistic, and this is a little more cartoony. But there we go. All right. So I completed all the requirements. I filled out my my note. I didn't really, but you should do that. The notes are great as far as figuring out if you completed all the requirements or not. You submit it. Submit a reflection. You write a nice 3 or 4 sentences that tell me like what kind of difficulties you encountered, what you liked about this project, what you didn't like, what how you might have done things differently, or why you chose to do certain things, whatever. Right, just give me like a little bit like what you thought about this project. All right, so that is it for lesson number 7 and number 4 inside the code the intro to Python. Like I'm rambling, so I think it's time to quit.